Hello everyone and welcome to a new video, a bit of a special one because, well, these are special times. I hope this helps a little bit. So here we have a vintage newborn My Little Pony, and I was trying to figure out what this text says and I'm not sure. I don't think I got it right, but if you know or if this is your old pony, please let me know because I'm very curious. But we're going to do something entirely different with it, because to be honest, I really need it. I'm sure I'm not the only one struggling with what's happening in the world right now, the cruelty and the lack of love. But we're going to give this pony lots of love, and I will tell you lots of personal things today. Right, so I don't know if this is the best way to start, but this is what I keep thinking about the most these days, and it's this thing that some people are asking themselves: why are we seeing so much cruelty, so much callousness, I guess? And I have seen also people reply, well, because cruelty is the point. And this is a concept that I honestly hope you are not familiar with, because if you are, it means that at some point you were on the other side, on the receiving end of what humans can do to each other. And I wanted to share my story, I don't know what to say, some of my foundational memories and composition. This is weird. Because I think it's relevant and it's the first time I do, so I'm not sure what will come out of this. But when I say composition, I kind of mean also genetically, because I am made of two very, very different people, two extremes of people. On the one hand, we have integrity and unconditional love, and on the other, we have, what should we call it? The opposite. I don't know if I can even say it. Maybe selfishness, maybe conditional love, but I don't think it's really love. Someone who will keep you around as long as you serve a purpose, and someone that will put a lot of effort in keeping you around. So I learned from quite a young age that some people do not have that capacity for caring for others. Usually because they have unresolved trauma, or there can be many reasons, but it gets to a point where they're just unable. And as a daughter in my case, or as a partner, if you know, you know. These people exist, unfortunately, and it's very, very, very difficult for them to change. So when I see the cruel things that are happening, the cruel decisions that are being made today, I'm honestly not that surprised, I'm not that shocked. And I believe them for what they are. But if you haven't encountered this, if you haven't been on the receiving end, as I said, of this kind of selfishness and this banality, the banality of evil, then yeah, you might not believe it and say, how can someone be like that? That's just not possible. Parents care for their children and leaders care for their people. Well, no, not everyone does. We all kind of assume that when someone talks to you, they're saying what they think, they're telling the truth. And this is not the case. Some people kind of, filter everything through the lenses of what they can get instead. Some people only find pleasure and euphoria in cruelty. This has always happened. There must have been an evolutionary reason for it. And it continues to happen. It probably will continue to happen. Hopefully, as we get better at dealing with mental health and trauma, there will be less people that feel that way, that grow up to be that way. So yeah, this is like the most negative I have been in a video so far, but I promise that there are better things coming. Maybe I should talk about the pony for just a few seconds before we move on to the next big philosophical topic. But see, this is what happens when you tell me to speak for a whole video. Okay, so as I think I mentioned that this is a newborn pony. Now that we know the color of the pony, we can deduce which one it is, or at least make some informed guesses. I think because we saw some yellow in the eye, this is a baby Yo-Yo. It's a mini Pegasus pony. So I actually feel really weird talking about the pony after talking about cruelty is the point. So I think we'll leave the explanations of the pony process for the next video, and in this one I will focus a little more on what I'm trying to say. I am not a very organized person when it comes to recording. I just record as I feel. I don't have a script or anything like that. Which I guess, connecting to what I was saying before, this is based a lot on my feelings and my personal experiences, what I'm saying. It's not science. There are lots of good resources. I will try to link some. I will link some in the description. But what I'm sharing today is all about my history and my perceptions. Just to clarify, I do have a background in social sciences. I am an anthropologist by education, I guess. So I will be referencing some more sciencey things, but it's just because I like metaphors and I am a nerd. And with that, let's go to the next section, where things get a little weird, I think. Okay, so for this section, I will start with a little story. About, I don't know, a million years ago, I used to live in New Zealand. I lived in New Zealand for about 4 or 5 years, and I was working really, really hard and not making that much money, so I didn't have any extra, like anything. I will live with the minimum. So instead of taking the bus, I will walk 5 miles to work every day. And every day I will see this house that had this kind of like a fence that had a plant on it. I wasn't too familiar with what plant this was, but it always looked kind of dry and then looked a little green, but it wasn't anything extraordinary. And I walked past this place for months. And at some point I took some time off, and when I went back to work, I walked past this place, and this little fence thing was completely like covered in lilac and pink flowers. And it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen in my life. And I learned after that these were wisteria plants. Wisterias? And it wasn't the first time I had seen them in my life, I think, but I had never seen them in that like quantity, and it was just incredible. It completely changed everything around it. And it only lasted for 1-2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks tops. So then I started researching this. I went into one of my hyper-focus states and I researched wisterias. I learned that it takes them a long time to mature, like 10 years even to flower, and that if there is a lot of shade, they don't bloom. But I think what shocked me is like how little time this blooms for. I don't know how to say this. And I think it's the same with like cherry blossoms, for example. They don't last very long, but when they exist, they are so incredibly beautiful. Now, if you think this story actually has a point, I'm sorry, it doesn't really have a very polished point. At the time and now, I just felt amazed at how something so temporary, so fragile, could be so beautiful and so relevant in my life. It completely changed how I felt those days and how I feel today when I think about that moment. So maybe this is one of the thoughts I'm trying to get to. Is it worth growing a wisteria for 10 years without anything other than green? I mean, it's a beautiful plant, but you know, it's a plant. It doesn't look that different until it blooms. Is it worth growing it for 10 years and then waiting for 11 months and a half to see these beautiful flowers? For me, yes. And is it worth loving and loving intensely when the price of love, as we know, I think, is loss? When you love so much and then you lose that person or that thing, then your heart breaks and it's terrible. At the same time, though, the loss you feel, I think, is less than the love you felt. Am I making sense? To give you a more specific example that also goes back to the first part, see, I'm connecting things. I love my mom terribly, unconditionally, with integrity, with truth, with everything I have. And I know that when I lose her, oh my God, I can't even imagine. But will I not feel that love because of the fear of losing her? God, no. My mom saved my, well, not, I don't know if save my life is not the right term. My mom made my life, made me. Everything good I am is because of her. So I'm happy to pay that price, the price of love being lost, just as she is happy to pay that price, I think. And that's why she gave me and my siblings so much. Now, when I think about cruel people, let's say cruel people as a catch-all for a lot of I don't know, selfishness and things going around. Do cruel people feel love the way I feel? I don't know. I think there is maybe some sort of euphoria when they get something they want, but I also feel like it's quite a short-lived thing. It's something that you have to repeat and repeat to get the same level of pseudo happiness or whatever that is. And I know this sounds very cliche, like, oh, I would rather have love than have like a giant hole in my heart that no money, no power will ever fill. I don't know. Having an angry reaction is natural. It makes sense. The things that are happening, the decisions that are being made are horrible, horribly cruel, unjustifiably so. But there is also like this attention-seeking thing that anger is what these people are expecting. How many times do we see selfish people treating the people that love them horribly just to get a reaction, any sort of reaction? And to that, the question remains, what do we do? What do we do with the ones that don't live that way, that don't feel that way, that say what we are thinking and you know, are not perfect human beings? Nobody is. And just because you try doesn't mean that you are actually a great person. And I have no answer. On a personal level, I cannot praise more the choice of going no contact with someone that lives that way. On a global level, I have no idea. All I can say is that there are lots of options for activism. There are lots of ways in which you can help others, that we can help each other. And I don't know, this is one little thing I decided to do today, is this tiny video. Okay, so now we're jumping to a completely different thing, but something that helps me in my day-to-day life, and it's Newton's third law. Now, let's see if we can remember together, and by that I mean Google it, what this means. The easy way to understand this law is that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The actual definition that I was Googling is a bit longer, and it says that if object A exerts a force on object B, then object B exerts an equal and opposite force of the same type on object A. I don't think we need a long definition, but we want to be precise in this channel. To give you an example, imagine there are two people on like skateboards and they push each other back and they both go back in opposite directions. Or a less happy example, if you hit a wall with your hand, you'll get hurt because the force you apply to the wall is returned by the wall to your hand. And actually, I guess the concept of karma is sort of a similar thing. If you do bad things might happen to you. That is quite a negative view of it, maybe. Then there is also like a very positive, like if you do good things, then good things will happen to you. I don't know about that, but what I like to do is use this rule kind of in my daily life to, for example, if I eat too much or if I eat too many delicious things, I will get a stomachache, or my gallbladder will suffer because my gallbladder is very temperamental. Or if I spend too much time in front of the computer, which I usually do, then I'll have a weak back and weak legs and I won't be able to walk around and find more wisteria. So in a way, this is kind of a force, opposite force. It's not really a force, but you know, too much of a good thing is not good. So finding a balance and being aware of that balance, what that balance might be, I think is very helpful. It's very helpful for me, at least. Like, I know if I do something, there is, I don't want to call it a price, but there will be a consequence. So in my opinion, nothing in excess is good. There is nothing that would only be like pure positive. There will always be some kind of opposite. So I was looking around because this is a very old saying. Actually, in Greece, the Oracle of Delphi said two things. I think there were two things inscribed somewhere, or this is like one of the answers that they usually gave. Nothing in excess and know yourself. So very, very old saying. So I was searching around and I found this Reddit thread, and it's called "What is something that is good in excess?" So I'm checking it now, and the first one is luck. And it has 404 upvotes. Luck is not a bad one, but if you're always lucky, then the day you are not lucky might be very, very difficult to deal with. Fresh air, yeah, but too much oxygen can also you. Someone says money. I think we can all agree that there is never enough money for people that like money. And then there are some nice ones like kindness and love and happiness. I don't agree with happiness. Again, it's kind of similar to luck. Now, love and kindness. This is a tricky one, and this is kind of what I wanted this video to be about in a way. I don't know what this video is about. So can you have too much love? Can you have too much kindness? And can you have too much peace? I'll say everyone needs a little struggle to grow, to understand themselves better, to be able to empathize with others. But let's move on to the next section, and then I promise that this will close. I think there are some differences between these terms that I was referring to before, all the positive terms. And there are two that stand out, and those are kindness and love. And those are two that I feel kind of break the rules of thermodynamics. Hang on. A lot of the things that people think about what they want are things you receive. You receive money, you receive, I don't know, power or whatever. But kindness and love are things you give. Or I guess things that you can both receive and give. And especially with love, what I feel happens is that even though loss is the price of love, that loss, like I think I said this before, so I actually just spoiled my whole theory, but the loss you feel is less than the love you received and gave, or like the total amount of love that was around. Actually, if you saw the movie Interstellar, which is a good movie, not my favorite sci-fi movie, but a good one, there is this like theory or approach to love as a force. We don't need to get into that. I think the answer is much simpler, and it's, the thought I have is much simpler. For me, being someone that is constantly thinking what will be the consequence of this, because I'm very anxious, and one of the shapes of my anxiety, what is that an expression? My anxiety takes the shape of fear of losing the balance. I guess it's a thing with losing control. It might have to do with my childhood and what I shared at the beginning of the video. Maybe having experienced conditional attachment, I don't want to call it love, then maybe I live in constant fear of not deserving good things. Alright, so I have been talking for 16 minutes, and I have to say that by this point I'm not sure what else I can say about this topic. Maybe, hopefully, I gave you some things to think about. I don't know, some tools. I was thinking about this situation we're going through, and I wish I had more positive words for those that are more directly affected by what's happening right now. But I came across this little sentence that I will read now. It's not what I want to close this with at all, but let me just read it very quickly. It says, it's from an Open Democracy article by, let me see, where is the author? Scott Reber. And it says, beneath the bullying, blustering and casual cruelty, beneath the mangled syntax and rhetorical excess, beneath the torrent of lies, the shocking vapidity and astonishing stupidity, one senses a radical vacuum. And he closes this article. I will also share the link. I don't know this author, but I think this is a really good article, and says, nothing meaningful justifies the, I don't want to say the name, this current incarnation of evil, just as nothing meaningful underlay its predecessors. And this made me think a lot about the word meaning and how, this is now me talking, it's not the quote anymore. I think that those of us who feel more intensely, and I'm saying a healthy level of feelings, like I don't think sensitivity is a thing that you should have too much of. Everything in balance. But those of us that feel this way, we find a lot of meaning in things. I found meaning in those wisteria flowers, just like I find meaning now in this pony that is kind of representing so many things that I have inside of me. And I find meaning in my relationships. I find meaning in the objects I love and the stories they tell. And that's why I love restoring ponies, because they always come with some sort of hidden history. And even the sad parts of me, I also enjoy those connections and those meanings that are not always happy thoughts. Okay, after all this spiraling up and down and changing topics and stuff, I think I might have some thoughts to close this video. And like I said, I'm just recording this with no planning, but I was thinking about meanings and how some people assign lots of meaning to things, and that makes their life feel more rich. I don't know, I'm talking about myself, I don't know, I do that. And for a lot of people, being sensitive means that you are kind of thin-skinned or weak, or like you overreact, or you cannot control your feelings. But I think it's not about, like, sensitivity doesn't have to do with feelings necessarily. I think it has to do more with how we perceive the world. If you take in more information from your senses, your emotions and other people's emotions and ideas, that means you're getting a lot of information, right, from the world around you and from your inner world. And you can see how this expresses itself too, because I mean, about 30% of people are considered to be like highly sensitive people. So that's a very big percentage. And one of the things that comes with sensitivity sometimes or usually is creativity. And I'm not just talking about art, like music and painting and things like that. I'm talking about tools to survive in this world, survive and thrive in this world, in this planet. Being more sensitive, having more information means that you might be able to make better decisions and you might be able to innovate. But of course, if we go back to Newton's law, then there is a price for sensitivity, of course. Overstimulation can be one of the prices. Feeling overwhelmed by the sensory input, in my case, by ideas also, and by feelings, your own feelings and the feelings of others. And what feels really nice about this, again, in my case, I get energy from these things. I get energy from these meanings. And even if I'm sad or struggling, I still enjoy certain things in the world. And I feel that these bad people, they're only consuming these things. They don't really generate anything. They only destroy things. So what happens after you have destroyed everything you can around you? Then you have to cannibalize yourself. Unfortunately, there is no way that you will be able to convince someone like that to change. They're never going to see what is really happening and what they're really missing out on. So my advice is remain sensitive, give kindness and give love, but be focused on where you put your efforts. I guess in a way you could say set boundaries that allow you to keep living in this beautiful world and sharing the beautiful things that most of us, or at least half of us, also appreciate and love. I know it's not much of a conclusion, but that's where I am at the moment. And okay, now a bit late, 21 minutes later. Thank you, patrons, for allowing me to express these feelings, these thoughts through pony videos. Let's take a look at the little pony we started with. Here is this little white and purple pony, kind of overloaded with paint and hairs. Hopefully plastic hairs. And now let's look at the Wisteria custom pony. Ta-da! Here is our new refreshed purple baby. The hair is a bit unexpected, I would say. This is not the result I was going for, but it's what we have. It will settle down at some point. And here is a close-up of the painting. I think this is, I don't know, it's quite a special video. I don't know if you will like it. I think I went overboard with the sharing. But, you know, these are difficult times for almost everyone, I think. It's just so cruel and so senseless. But I hope you know that here you always have a safe space. I promise the next videos won't be as heavy. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for trying. Thank you for being. And I will see you very soon for the next video. Have a great week. Have a good week. Have a week. Bye bye.